How's it going, audio fans? Welcome back to my channel. It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews, and here is the Tin Hifi P1 planar magnetic in-ear monitors. People have been going nuts over these with good reason, because there's not a lot of planar magnetic IEMs in the sort of entry level $100 to $200 segment at the moment, but after this there'll probably be a lot more. Anyway, before we get started, I've got a little bit of a story to tell you. A while back I received another set of the P1, and just later that day, I think it was, or maybe early the next day, I was told not to review those because based on some of the early feedback from myself and other testers, the company decided that they were going to make some changes, last minute changes to the tuning. So at that point, I didn't really have any reason to keep listening to those earphones. I normally would have just put them in a drawer and put them away. So I've got so much other stuff to listen to. But day after day, as I was getting ready to go to work, I'd pick up the P1 because there was just something magic, something really special about them. And of course, later on, I was sent the revised version, which is this one here. And it's had changes, obviously, some changes for the better, some for the worse. But long story short, these are amazing. Some people were a little bit concerned because people have been saying they're very hard to drive, and that's true. You probably won't get much satisfaction with a smartphone with these earphones, but I had no trouble powering them with the FIO M6 here. That's fine. I was at about, where am I? 70 all the way up to 90, depending on the recording volume, out of 120. So this has no problems driving them. If you do want to use a phone, you could always use something like the X Duo Bluetooth amp here. You can use it wired as well. I was using them a lot with the Sony NW-ZX300 because, well, why not? Because it's awesome and I love it. It's probably my favorite DAP of all time. So yeah, you've probably seen other videos about these already. I've already published my written review. There'll be a link in the description. You can check that out at the Prime Audio website. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about this, about the sound. Well, first of all, I'll cover the build. Obviously, it's a nice build. It's stainless steel, really solid. Simple, fairly simple design, at least on the outside. They've got a little bit of heft, but they're not what I'd call heavy. Certainly feel very comfortable in my ears. They're tiny. They're really tiny. And of course, cable is worn over the ears, so they don't feel heavy. Talk a little bit about a couple of the songs and what the P1, what they sound like with the P1. Once this slow-ass Sony DAP boots up, it boots up slower than my grandma, and she passed away a while back. That's the one thing I don't like about this DAP, is the slow boot time and the way, okay. Anyway, let's see here. Indaco by Ludovico Einaudi. Not sure if that's pronounced right. Throughout this song, there is there's a shaker sound, and it's after every 3 major piano notes, sort of doo doo doo. You hear this little sound, and you can hear it with a lot of IEMs, even budget stuff, particularly brighter IEMs, but you don't always hear each time the shaker makes a noise. I've even got some very expensive sort of $1,000 earphones that I only hear 1 or 2 of the shakers, and but anyway, my point is, with the P1, low to moderate volumes, each shaker noise is clear as day, but this doesn't really have a bright tonality. It's just incredibly resolving, and it's so detailed, and that's because of it has such good instrument separation, it has such good layering, fast transients from the planar driver, just incredible. And the piano, the violin and the cello in this song sound fantastic. Everything sounds amazing. Let's see, The Scent of the Old Ocean by Those Who Ride with Giants. The first minute and a half or so of this song, with a good pair of earphones, just takes me away to another place. I close my eyes and I'll just drift away and listen to the guitar and the strings, the string instruments, just fabulous. Some IEMs don't give me that feeling. If they're a little bit too analytical or a little bit too dry or too bright, it just doesn't work. But the P1 with this song, yep, minute and a half, I'm gone. I'm in my own little world with this song, so it works great for that one as well. 2100 by Run the Jewels. Hip hop, obviously, if you know them. Big bass throughout the song. This is where the P1 sort of, I wouldn't say fails, but it disappoints. Not in its mid bass, but in its sub bass. The sub bass extension is quite good, but the sub bass notes they're very light. They don't really rumble. You don't feel it vibrating in your ears. They don't have authority, and that's the biggest drawback that there is with this IEM. Apart from that, it's almost perfect, at least to my ears. But for certain genres like this, the sub bass is a shortcoming, no doubt about it. Same thing with Smarts by Scarface. Throughout the song, it's got this really deep sort of 808 bass note, and it's very hard to pick it up. Well, no, not exactly. I mean, you can hear it. You can clearly hear the sub bass note, but again, it just lacks authority. It's too far in the background and just doesn't. It just doesn't. So anyway, this is going to be a short video. You can read my full review, my written review, if you want more information. Not going to hype these up, but I will say they are amazing. I definitely recommend them. Keep in mind, if you're into hip hop or maybe electronic music or anything that relies heavily on sub bass, then these probably will leave you disappointed. But for everything else, for rock, probably for a lot of classical, definitely for rock and some pop, things like that, these are just amazing, and I'm really excited to see where Tin Hifi goes from here, because this is a game changer.